Hey everybody. So this next video is going to basically be the intro for the next couple of types of connective tissues. So before we get into that, let's really quickly talk about the fact that there are two broad types of fibroconnective tissues. We can break them down into two categories. Number one, loose connective tissues, and then number two, dense connective tissues. So we're going to begin right now with some loose connective tissues, and within that category, there are three tissues we're going to discuss. We have areolar, reticular, and adipose connective tissues. So before we talk about those three tissues, it's really important to understand, what's the difference between loose and dense. Really, it's going to be about the fibers. So if you have more fibers, it's going to be densely populated with fibers. Therefore, it'll be a dense connective tissue. We're not talking about that right now. We're going to talk about cells that are very loosely packed or very less populated with those connective tissues. That said, all of these cells, one more time, are going to have these three fiber types: the reticular fibers, the elastic fibers, and the collagen fibers, and a variety of cells. Again, here are some of the cells we talked about earlier. So let's just jump right into areolar. So this is a loose connective tissue, as we mentioned. You're going to find these all throughout the body. You're going to find these in places that are going to be surrounding organs, as well as capillaries and many other places throughout the body. Again, they are connective tissues. So they're going to connect the body in many different ways. With that said, if we're looking at the tissue, you can see that it's very loosely packed. If this is your first time ever looking at one of these cells under a microscope, or obviously on a slide here, you don't really understand that because it's your first example of seeing this. But in a minute or two, when you look at the next couple slides, when we look at dense connective tissue, you'll see that it is a very, very loose network of fibers relative to those. When we get to those, it's going to be very, very jam-packed. So that said, you're going to see a little bit of stuff going on here. You're going to see a fibroblast, as you see in the middle, a couple cells, as we mentioned earlier. So there's going to be cells thrown in throughout here. You're going to find some reticular tissues found in here, some collagen, as you can see here, the collagen bands here, the elastic tissues here. So it's very loose, very all over the place, not a ton of structure to it. But again, it is found all throughout the body and has a number of functions, including surrounding different organs in the body. So here's another image here. And these are going to be loose areolar connective tissues. The next video will be on reticular connective tissue.